Hey there, welcome to the channel. My name is Daniel, and this is Metal Sharpens Metal, the place where we analyze heavy music from a Christian worldview. Let me start off by saying, I think that we're all adults here, okay? I think that we can handle different types of music in our lives. It doesn't all have to be brutal, beatdown, slamcore, like none of the songs on this channel are. But I think we can handle another post-hardcore song. I think we're ready. Today, we're listening to The Receiving End of Sirens. It is their song, The Salesman, the Husband, the Lover. And this is a song that came out a long time ago, but was a very special song on their album. I think it was a really special album in general. I just realized I forgot something. I'll be right back. Okay, that's better. This is their album, The Earth Sings Me Fa Me, and it is a really cool album. It's got a concept behind it. It's kind of got two concepts going on at the same time, a macro and a microcosm kind of vibe. Very cool. So we'll talk about all that later. Hope you guys enjoy it. Let's go check it out. All right, this is really dense lyrically. There's so much going on. Hopefully I'll be able to keep up with the scrolling. But yeah, it's very cool. Let's go jump in. And it starts right where the last song left off. So yeah, this album flows one song into another pretty well.
Baby boy had a big old heart, large enough to tear apart, split even in two. Too much head, too little heart, so one turned into two. 1, 2.
Love that harmony.
Dirty hands with separate beds and folded sheets in which they slept. Oh, what's a boy to do? What's a boy to do? Daddy finds and dollar whores and liquor stores can offer more than his family, more than his friends, more than the woman that he wed. Oh, what a shameful seed I've sown. Then one day Daddy walked away from his wife and child they had.
Man, what a sad intro. Bring the whole gang in. All right. Like I said, super sad intro. It's a really slow burn, but then it comes into that big chorus. And as you heard, there's a couple people singing going on. I actually haven't really listened to this a whole lot with looking at the those parenthesis lines there, the place where love grew old, too old and broken to appraise. So it's cool, like you have to listen to the chorus twice to kind of get it all, at minimum twice. Gosh, this is a powerful song already, and I'm sure you can kind of sense that. We hear that little echo, maybe boy had a big old heart in the background. But then we'll come back.
Court order visits men, weekends with his dad, where he learned his share of lessons and how to drink like his own man. Back home his mother packed her bags and the dreams that she watched drown for a single room apartment in a seedy part of
Man, they go from calling him the dad to the old man. And then he's just the man. Man.
Love on his heels, he walked out the door.
just going to take a quick break because I really love their drummer. He didn't get all big and flashy with like tons of cymbals and crazy fills and weird stuff. He had really good grooves, and he'd bring in these awesome beats that could carry a section that might be like really big and floating and atmospheric, and then he's just like doing something very cool. It repeats, but it just sounds so solid and tight, and he really complemented these songs well. I really liked his style.
Did you hear me? I said I dig your groovy tunes, man.
I wanted to touch on that thing, yeah. So it talks about him being an old man, and then just spitting. He's now the son is a spitting image of the man. So it's getting less and less personal how it's talking about the dad here. So yeah, guitars fade out, still a little bit of that reverb sound. But it's just kind of desolate. That's the word I was looking for. But again, reality's about to crush back in a sec. Got some of the symphony in the background. So dense sonically. But the vocals still cut through perfectly. I love this. Now you got the guitar lead line singing the vocal line. I mean, that little thing, like the drums have been really straightforward this whole passage, but then that little upbeat fill, I love that stuff. Very subtle and cool. Gosh. And now the chorus is so big, it feels like a different chorus. And then just so yeah, an outro with just the nice couple guitars playing independently but still together. There's some like dissonance there, some clashing notes almost. And the vocals are just quietly singing their parts. Gosh, it makes you sad when you think about the meaning and you hear the powerful music. Oh. There's a hair on my face. I'm not wiping tears. I'm tough. So, yeah, I don't know, like hearing something like that first time.
What did he say?
If you haven't really considered it and like played that movie in your head of what's happening in this family, it may not hit very hard, but gosh, like the way that they wrote it fits perfectly with the theme behind the song. It's like these big kind of, there's a lot going on, energetic, and then it brings it back down into like, we're just like living in the implications. We don't know what's happening. And then it comes back in either big all at once, or, you know, like with like a verse, just kind of fades back in like, okay, are we living life normally again? It's powerful, man. That it's hard to convey some of that. And I know that not everybody thinks about music the same way, but the way that I see that is it tells a story. It's like playing a movie with music. And I was thinking back to the first time I saw these guys. I got to see them with Salesman, and I might be forgetting. Anyway, I was definitely there for Salesman, but I had heard Between the Heart and the Synapse by Trios, and I really liked it. I think I had heard Planning a Prison Break. That was one of their big pop bangers. And then a few of their other songs, This Armistice and stuff, they were really dense, like all the layers, like I was mentioning, so much singing, so much harmony, so many counter melodies and like things going on while another big melody was going on. It was a superb show. Like they played so well live. All that sound back in, this was probably 2008 when, like there just wasn't as much digital sound stuff going on in music as there is now. They had just put this album out, so I guess that'll tell me the year if I look at okay. 2007. They just put on such a good show. This album was there. I bought it while I was there because I was like, all these new songs sound so good. I think they played Oubliette and Smoke and Mirrors and things. An amazing show. So yeah, definitely knew these guys were skilled, and I wanted to pay attention to what they were doing. So the singers on this song are Alex Bars and Brendan Brown. But Brendan, I read, wrote all the lyrics for this album. They had another guy for one of their past albums named Casey Crescendo or Leonardo DiCaprio. I forget. But the point is, he went on to form the Deer Hunter, which is a very cinematic, thematic type band. You can tell like a lot of his influence was in Trios and gave them, tons of their sound. So, but this album, I think, still did a great job. But let's zoom out and consider the name of the album for a sec. I said it was The Earth Sings Me Fa Me. Me Fa Me, if you remember from your Sound of Music days, if your mom made you watch that with her too, that you have Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, Do as like the singing notes that comprise, I guess, well, it's just all the whole notes of something. I'm not going to get into the theory. I'm not going to pretend I remember. But yeah, in the album title, Mi and Fa and Mi are just some of those notes. So, but the earth is singing that. So what it is referring to is a thing that I will go over in a very high level concept. So basically, it was theorized that the rotation of the sun and the planetary bodies and also the other term, rotation and orbit, not gum, but basically that the rotation and the orbit of our planetary bodies and the sun and everything working together gives off a certain frequency of sound. We have minds like Pythagoras and Aristotle and Shakespeare that have referred to these things. So, there are some smarty pants involved right off the bat. Johannes Kepler was another guy who theorized that the planets were creating certain notes with their songs and that it had a mi, fa, mi structure. Again, I'm just barely touching on this. You can go dive in more if you want to understand it better, because I quickly got out of my depth looking at celestial mechanics. I'm not sure where my audience is on that. And yeah, God has put a lot of order into his universe and nothing is by accident. So discovering that there's music in the sky is one of the least ridiculous things I've heard. Anyway, the receiving end of Sirens is just a great band at putting some of those really heady concepts into digestible music. So yeah, the big concept of having the music of the spheres is also mirrored in another smaller story where it's following the characters of this broken home that was described in the song. So this song is a fairly straightforward look at the father who's absolutely face planting at his duties, and the rest of the family trying to pick up the pieces, the implications that it has for the son and the mother. And so yeah, it says that the son's heart was split evenly between his two parents. That's because the parents had a rocky start. They made their beds with dirty hands, so there was already like sin involved in the marriage and a lack of confession. It looks like, Brendan is addressing that both sides had issues here. It wasn't just the dad, but they generally didn't commit to the relationship, commit to the love in a Christian way, the way that they should have, which is self-sacrificial, and where the wife submits to the husband leads the family and the wife, and provides and protects them as well. But now the main part of the sin focuses on the father, who went out to find $10 whores and liquor stores. Man, talk about, Alex Bars wasn't the guy who wrote these, but these are bars. These are absolute bars. When daddy finds $10 whores and liquor stores can offer more than his family, than his friends, more than the woman that he wed. So when he finds all this stuff out, and again, the rhyming structure, I've said I've loved this before, where you repeat the rhyming sound multiple times, all of that leads to, oh no, what a shameful seed I've sown. So there's like some level of realization in the father's mind that this is not the way it's supposed to be. Now, I want to stop here for a sec and just say that this is the type of thing in the song that just gives me heart palpitations. Not because I think I'm at risk of going out and, soliciting strippers or anything.
Have you ever seen a stripper before?
Yes. Jennifer Garner portrayed one on Alias. It was one of her many aliases.
Yeah, me neither.
but because it reminds me of the high calling that I have to lead my family well. Now, this song is painting a very visible and obvious example of a family implosion, but there are other subtler ways that fathers, in particular, I'll speak to them for now, can act in such a way that it becomes acid within the four walls of their home. And people don't maybe see it on the outside, but inside the family is falling apart. I've reviewed several songs on this channel that talks about the failure of fathers. And you can see that it's still affecting the kids to this day because the kids are writing music about it now and giving examples and stories about how these things happen. Now, this song wasn't a real example. It just was something that came to Brendan's mind. He wanted to write a story about something heart-wrenching, and he did a great job. But yeah, we see it in TV and movies. I mean, the father is so pivotal to the health of the family that it generally leads to compelling stories like this, where you either want to see vengeance or repentance. And it's so easy to become lazy as a father and think like, well, I'm not like physically beating anyone and I'm not seeking out ladies of the night, so I'm probably doing pretty good, right?
If you ask me, I think it went pretty well.
But no, it turns out our requirements go a little bit beyond that. And especially when you look at the requirements in the Bible and, places where it's important for men to get wisdom from. So back to the lyrics. It says that, he's sown a shameful seed. Thinking about sin in agriculture terms and like having things be planted and watered and grow into bigger problems, absolutely is a biblical thing. Galatians 6:7 says that what a man sows, he will also reap. Very true for the dad here. So he walks away from the family. The mom is doing her best to keep things afloat, acting as two parents for the price of one. But that's not a good deal in this case, because we know that now the son is fighting the father's wars. The son is doing what the father was supposed to be doing for him and helping him with. Fathers will pass on alcohol, physical, sexual abuse, like all those types of things get passed on to their kids. It says that the son inherited the father's cheating. The son was an heir to the father's drunken breath. The father willed him, like made a will for him and passed on arrogance and an empty chest. Talk about poetry, my gosh, that is just so powerful. And back to that empty chest line, I don't remember if Brendan said that he was reading C.S. Lewis in this, but in The Abolition of Man, C.S. Lewis, it was an essay by him where he talked about men with hollow chests. And he was kind of using that as a way to sum up our current cultural issues going on. So we remove organs from people and expect them to still function the same way. We want to remove the heart of a man and say, value your career as your God and gain the respect of everyone around you by force if necessary. And then we're surprised when he doesn't love and protect his family. Well, yeah, it's because you ripped out his heart. And the world thinks that we're robots oftentimes, that we're kind of these neutral things. And if we're programmed correctly, then we will go do the right things and bring humanity closer to utopia.
Oh no, your battery fell out.
I was just learning to love.
But we know that that's not the case. So while the responsibility for the sin and failure fall entirely on this father, we can still have a worthwhile discussion about the problems that society and culture have inculcated in this father as well. We as men are told that we can come home from work, we can put our feet up, we can have a beer or six, and we can relax because we had a hard day at the factory or in the mines getting the black lung. But again, this is just catering to some of the problems that were coming from feminism. When they were trying to bring men down a peg or six to make things equal, or it came from men's just laziness and lust. Even if the man doesn't go out and physically find another woman and commit adultery, they are told that it's okay to fantasize about things and enjoy that from the glow of their phone. How many times have you heard somebody say, I'm just looking at the menu, but I'm not ordering anything? That is not how Jesus says lust works. So yeah, what is being deemed acceptable in our society is definitely playing a part in this story as well. So to wrap up the song, we had that kind of ambient, atmospheric section that came right after the syncopated drums I was talking about. And then it explodes into the big bridge at the end. So that ambience, much like the innocence of the household, just kind of ends as abruptly as it starts. And there's no nod to tempo or timing. I actually read in a discussion on one of their blog posts that somebody asks, like, how do you time that during the shows? Do you just like play a click in your ear and all listen and wait for the exact beat or something? And they were like, well, we're not entirely sure. Like, we just kind of have to look at each other and make sure we're all like, boom. So it's super jarring. And again, that fits the destruction of this household theme really well. And the last part I wanted to touch on, this bridge that had these references to a light bulb, a wishbone, a rifle, and a telephone. And again, I said that this wasn't Brendan's story. This wasn't something that he went through, but he actually read through a lot of accounts of foster children and children that went through divorce proceedings and things like that. So the parents are in court custody battles. And in those testimonies, Brennan saw these children using these words. They were saying that they were being used like a light bulb, being switched on and off when needed, a wishbone that's pulled between two hands and snapped down the middle, a rifle that was used to injure the other parent, and a telephone that was being used to send a message to the other parent without being face to face. And this was how the children were describing their experiences. They felt like the light bulb, the wishbone, the telephone, and the rifle. It even says that they are the remnants of the precious metals that weigh you both down. The precious metals, the gold and the silver and the rings. And yeah, that's like the only reminder they have of marriage. Once they take that off, they're kind of absolved of responsibility. At least that's how they view it. So yeah, just really like gritty, real, tangible examples of how this family is tragically being dismantled piece by piece. So I'm sorry, not sorry if this turned into a little bit of a sermon, but this message just really drives deep into my heart. When I think about my kids having their lives turned upside down by something I've done, in the place that they're supposed to be feeling the safest and the most ready to love and be loved without any worry. It's unacceptable to think about it that way. And I wasn't planning for this to become a channel for dads and fathers, but we've already gone over a few songs discussing fatherhood and the implications of what happens when they fail. So yeah, we have a large responsibility as men when we're leading families, but we don't need to go through it all on our own efforts. So for any men listening, fathers especially, I pray that you would come to anchor your life and your soul on the solid rock of Jesus' life, death, and resurrection, that you would build your home there on God's sure word and provide the stability and the nourishment that your family needs. It is not an easy calling to be a father, but it is a very good calling. So I hope that this song could be an encouragement to you as much as it has been for me. And hope to see you in the next video. Bye. And this is Metal Sharpens Metal, the place where we analyze Christian music from a world... Wait, the other... hardcore, slamcore, beatdown, doom, thrash land. We don't have to be in any of those places. Oh, okay, that's better.